All right, people, let's try this again. Sorry, we had Facebook's doing its weird thing again. Colin, I'm going to go ahead and share. Sorry, people. Let's see here.
Are we back up?
It looks like we are. Let's listen to the audio just real quick before we do a share.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's very frustrating that they keep changing how we're able to access the.
I think they try to improve it, and then it changes it, and then when we stay with the consistency of how we do things,
All right, let's hear
it screws us. I think they try to improve it, and then it changes it, and then when we stay with the consistency of how we do things, it's good. It screws us. I think they try to improve it, and then it changes.
Okay, so I'll back that off a little bit. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do a share so we can get the people back. Sorry about that. Those are things that are out of our control. Under Facebook. I'm going to say, let's try this again. Try this again. Facebook booted our audio. We are live again. Come join us on our page to comment. Not peace or peace. All right, so looks like we're good there. Colin, I'm going to drop the intro song. This is Scott.
This is Colin, and we are Two Rational Bastards.
Can you get it? Still wrong. I think we have people tune in just to see if we can hit it. All right, so I'm going to start the podcast portion here, Colin. So people that are tuning in for the first time, we start live streaming. We start doing the show via Facebook first, so we can do audio checks and things like that, and then we start the podcast version. So you guys get a little extra, although it may not be great content. You still get extra stuff, right, Colin? So, so anyway, so that's why you'll hear, again, anybody that's tuning in kind of fresh, that's why you'll hear kind of the intro music. So that's introduction for you. Then you'll hear us introduce the show again. That's why, because we're doing the intro for the podcast version here in just a minute. So I'm going in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Two Rational Bastards, broadcasting live from Rose Garden Studios, just north of Nashville, Tennessee. We're live streaming on Facebook. All videos are now, Colin, on YouTube. I finally loaded those all back up, and we're rolling, brother. We're rolling. What's going on, my man?
Well, that's Scott, and this is Colin.
Those technical issues threw me for a loop, right?
Man, every time he gets flustered, man, he's like, oh my God.
Well, I'm trying to, we're trying to do something epic for our audience, right? And then inevitably, once about every 3 weeks, Facebook changes how we access and do the live feed. So it's frustrating.
Yep, it is. But we're up. We're good.
We're up. We're live.
Calm down.
We're good.
If you haven't seen Scott before, he has a full head of hair. He's like full locks that flow all the way down to the pit of his knees. And he's bald right now. He's like, what the hell? He was over because, what the hell? Oh, shit, come on, man. All them we had all these views, and look at it.
So, Ralpho Donoso, does that name sound familiar? He says hello. So we'll take breaks occasionally to give a shout out to the people that are commenting on Facebook. If you happen to be seeing us on one of our pages, our personal pages, click the Two Rational Bastards and come to the page, because we can't see those comments until after.
Right.
But if you comment on the on our Facebook page, the Two Rational Bastards page, we'll be able to see it, respond to you as we're doing the show. And we take breaks periodically to kind of answer any questions you may have.
Exactly. So. And last time, man, there was some great questions, and we didn't get them until afterwards.
They didn't.
Oh man.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't post up, and we didn't see them till after the show. But so last week, I had moved my mic, and I faded quite a bit. This week, I moved it again.
Yeah.
Because I was getting feedback that people could see Colin, although he's beautiful, right? But they couldn't see. They could see me because my mic was mounted on this side,
right?
It was blocking my face a lot of the time. Right. So I'm not sure why people want to look at me, but anyway,
here I am. See you, man.
Hello. So here I am. Any case, so Colin, tell me about your week. I know that we, text and talk to each other, whatever. But for the audience's purposes, what's been going on with you this week, man?
Honestly, man, this week has been a little bit of a break for me. I had my girlfriend come into town, and we've been hanging out. But for the most part, I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to see the fight in its entirety. I've seen,
I've got it recorded.
I know, and you're going to let me watch it. But I've been trying to just see little as much as you can on Facebook. Not Facebook, but YouTube. And on YouTube, they won't allow you to see it in its entirety. Like a lot of the videos are really close, and you don't see what happens in the corner, and that's the stuff that I like. I'm a real boxing fan, and what I have seen, like the actual fight was epic.
Yeah,
it was epic.
It was good. So we'll talk. So we always start with a quote. Let me do that, and we'll get back into that, because then I actually have a story on Floyd Mayweather that we'll share a bit later. I don't want it to be a full solid 30 minutes of Floyd. We'll break it up with some of our segments that we do. But let's start with this quote here. We all have our time machines. Some take us back, they're called memories. Some take us forward, they're called dreams. The actor Jeremy Irons said that. That's
wow.
Kind of cool. So I like that one. Again, I typically don't pull these until the day of, and it's one that popped in my inbox this morning. So anyway, yeah, so
craziest thing. Okay, so the 25th Friday, we did a Dream Builders for teens. The unplugged that we do, we try to do them every 3 months.
Yeah,
every quarter. We're going to try to get down to once a month eventually, I hope. But the thing is, it's about dream building. And we had a couple of teams there. We had a couple of breakthroughs, meaning the kids opened up and actually shared some things that were going on in their lives, and we try to give them psychological ways of looking at things that's not just the typical I'm going to throw a temper tantrum, but hey, here's some tools that you can use to maybe get to a different understanding on some things. Basically, an Oprah slash what's his name? Her Dr. Phil moment. And it was so neat to see how receptive teens are, because I'm not a teen, nowhere near it. Maybe how long has it been? I'm 43, so it's 3 decades ago. Three and some change decades ago, I was a teen, and I try to relate as much as I can. But with the millennial thing, all the tools that they have to disengage, it's kind of hard to relate. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, you too, Scott, I'm gonna speak for you. Hide and go seek, freeze tag, climbing on the roof and jumping off, climbing trees. Like some of the things that we used to do wasn't simulated in a video game. Our video game that I had was Atari 2600, And then I thought I got a major upgrade when I got the 5600. Remember that? I got color. And then even with the Atari, not the Atari, but the Nintendo, when the Super Mario Brothers and all that, even that didn't put the kids inside.
Right.
It was the internet.
Yeah.
When that dropped, man, kids just don't go outside anymore.
Well, we sound like some old people. Yeah.
Back when I used to walk to school up the hill on the snow, barefooted both ways. Lord help me.
But the thing about that, the truth about that is our gaming systems, right? You play. There was not anything else to do. Now it's the gaming system, and then they go to the iPad, and then they go to the iPod, and they have all these devices that take them from going outside. I mean, I drive through neighborhoods, and you're being in real estate, and you half the time don't know that there are kids that live in the neighborhood until the bus drops them off.
Exactly. Damn, I know there was that many kids around here.
Like, good Lord.
When I was a kid, man, I mean, you would have to have we do football games or dodgeball, and there were so many kids trying to play that you would have to have an alternate game somewhere else. Like, you couldn't get enough kids to play dodgeball these days. I mean, if you gave them money.
I know. That's right, man. So Christina Felix said, "Hey, Colin, what's up?
What's good?
So,
what's up?
So anyway, yeah, it's so true, man. So how did it turn out? I mean, what were any breakthroughs, anything in that?
That's what I'm saying. We had 2 breakthroughs. There was 13 kids, and this was just one location. So
where did you guys have this one?
It was at Music City.
Yeah,
Unity in Music City, and it's going to be all 5 locations in the future. Stephanie had a
Stephanie Jacobs.
Stephanie Jacobs. She's now the youth director over Music City, Unity of Nashville,
and then Unity Music City as well, right?
Exactly, and that's going to be the hub for all 5 locations. So the Chattanooga, the Madison, the Music City of Nashville, and
I didn't know there was another. Is there one in Memphis or?
There's yes,
the
one in Memphis. So all the locations are going to. We're going to try to hub them at the one location once a month or once a quarter. And
are there any plans to travel to the other locations, maybe to do some stuff occasionally?
She will be doing that.
Yeah.
They will be doing that once a year with her.
Yeah.
But for the unplugged, it's we're gonna try to. What the goal is to give kids an outlet to communicate to an adult.
Yeah.
Without the adult being so overbearing.
Right.
Like a lot of it's listening, and then giving tools, and then seeing where you're receptive. Like a lot of our circles that we do is just seeing what the feedback is. So what do you think? And then they just talk, and you just gotta, as an adult, just shut the hell up a lot.
Yeah, get out of the way, right?
And just get out of the way. And I learned a lot. You know what I mean? Like my approach and our approach, I should say, is just trying to allow ourselves to be in a position to where we can be reached.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, don't say it like this, say it like that. None of that. Just okay. Now, what do you think about this? Kind of playing devil's advocate, but in a slick dickery way.
Well, you're letting them know that you listened, right? And then trying to give them another way to think about it. So, the thing about that too, and we've talked about this kind of off camera and other times, is the first hour or 2 hours or so, a lot of times the kids are kind of reserved, but you get them in that lock-in kind of situation, and things kind of start unfolding, and there's some bonding things, and a lot of things really,
it evolves throughout the night.
You really get to see evolution at its finest, right? Don't you?
It's so weird because you use all the tools to try to to imprint things that are imprinted in your mind. We're never going to forget 2010 when we flooded.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're never going to forget Katrina. We're never going to forget 9/11. We're never going to forget what's going on in Texas right now. But you can imprint things that you can use. You know what I'm saying? So like when we would use certain like we did the 4 agreements.
Yep.
We would go into it, do a skit, then throw the music on, and then let them get involved. And one of the acronyms that I created, we're about to get sued. You ready? The acronym for
stand in line, right?
For the 4 agreements is iPad.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So iPad, you know, the I is don't make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
The P is don't take things personal. The A is don't make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the D is do. Always do your best. And people and all the kids just like, well, it should have been a B right there. I was like, would your ass remember the iPad? Just like, oh, that's true. Let's shut the hell up. You know what? Turn the music on. Let them take another break. I'm sick of this shit. But
impeccable with your words,
mm-hmm.
right? So
always be impeccable with your words.
It just came to iPad. That's funny. So real quick, we'll cover a little bit about the Floyd fight. So I've watched it, and I don't really know going into it what I expected. For me, you and I both are. We grew up fighting boxing, some different types of styles, so we look at things maybe a bit differently as far as fights go than maybe the masses do.
Right.
So, although I'll say this, the Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fights were, for the most part, boring to watch. But if you are,
they were a real fight.
It's a real fight because then you really watch Floyd at his genius of understanding defensive moves and setting people up for the right kind of punch.
His boxing IQ is off the chart.
It's unreal. So I didn't really know what to expect. I expected Conor McGregor to charge and be aggressive and things, and he did that the first 4 rounds. And the genius that is Floyd Mayweather inside the ring is he adjusts better than any boxer that I can recall. Mm-hmm. And actually listens to his corner, right? Most boxers don't do that. They're like, yeah, and they still go and they stick to what's in their mind, their game plan. He actually adjusts.
Right.
And you talk about evolution, watching him change and, figure out how he was going to attack these weird angles, because there was no tape on Conor McGregor. He's not a boxer.
Right.
But he's going to be training in boxing for 6 months. Right. So all he had was, I know he can throw hammer fist, and then he's going to try to take me, but he can't take me to the ground because this is a boxing match. So there was nothing he could really prepare for, other than I got to kind of figure out what his plan is, and then I'm going to adjust. And God, 5th round, by the last few seconds of the 4th round, I turned to some of the people here. I was like, man, he's figured this out. You could tell by his footwork,
right? He's
figured it out. And then 5th round, he came out, and you're like, oh my God, it was a completely different fight. So you haven't seen it, the consistency of the evolution of it. And so when you watch it, you'll see.
I saw the whole fight. I just didn't see. I didn't see the corner.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
But I watched the whole entire fight. You know how you can see the whole body, their feet and everything.
Yeah.
The version I saw, you can only see from the waist up for the most part, and sometimes it would back up for a second, then it would zoom in. I think that was to avoid any lawsuits or anything for copyrights. But anyway, I disagree, man. I disagree. I think Floyd, as old as he is and everything, and I agree with you. We spoke offline earlier. He's a little bit slower, maybe, but I'm telling you, the Canelo fight, if you go back and watch the Canelo fight, you go back and watch the what is it? The fight with not Pacquiao, but Sugar Shane Mosley.
Sugar Shane, which he was past his prime, but
he was way past his prime. But then you go and look at how he destroyed Arturo Gatti. Mm-hmm. Okay, super young they were the same age.
Yeah.
When he fought Sugar Shane. Yeah. And then now, all he does is he gives away the first 2 rounds no matter what.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Sugar Shane rocked him. Almost knocked him down twice.
Yeah.
The thing about Floyd is, once he sees that first and that second round, you're done.
Yeah,
so for the fact that he went that long, it looked like a cat playing with a mouse to me.
No, but what I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure what you're disagreeing what I'm saying, because that's exactly what I'm saying he did.
Right.
He's sizing it up and figuring out what am I going to do.
Right.
I got to figure this guy out. I'll take these shots.
Right.
I can use my defense and move around.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to see what his angles are going to be. So I think we're in agreement there. I think
what I'm saying is, I think what I'm getting to real quick is
maybe what we were talking about offline, I guess.
Offline. You know, it's not fair to y'all, but offline, you're just like, no, hell no. I'll tell you what it was. And then he grabbed me by the throat. We went down to the ground, and I just like, leave me alone.
And we'll get to that, because that's something important too that I wanted to cover about it too.
Well, what I'm saying is, I feel like Mayweather knew that he didn't want it to look a certain way. You know what I mean? Like the Arturo Gatti was an embarrassment to Arturo Gatti, and he was done after that. He didn't fight anymore. And if this fight, if he destroyed Mayweather, if Mayweather destroyed Mayweather, I hate me.
If fighting his dad,
just start fighting his dad, his uncle. Come on, I'm ready. If he would have destroyed Conor McGregor, it would have had people being like, "See, I told you so," and it would have been this whole other thing, like people had been duped.
Yeah,
you got to remember, Floyd has a business in boxing now. He has fighters. He still has to promote it. He's still going to make money from all of this.
Right.
So if he discredits it by going out there and getting knocked out, so that's why he had to be careful the first 2 rounds. And when he felt the power of this man not stacking up, if you notice, Floyd always runs and always backs up. He didn't take a backward step.
Yeah.
From the 5th round on.
Yeah, 5th round on. Well, and the thing too is, I really think it, and I
he
agree
just
with
tried
that.
to make it look good.
He's a marketing guy, and he wanted to entertain. I mean, he said that in his post fight interview. Was I know that people were disappointed in the Pacquiao, boring, whatever. He said, I can't entertain today.
He said it.
I told you I was going to charge this fight. I did. But here's the thing: we have a history. Our evidence that we have with Floyd is the past 5 fights, not counting the McGregor fight. He dodged and dunked and ran most of the time. He didn't take charge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are a couple of things. Like you said, he's marketing and all that. But I really do believe he was really trying to figure out Conor's style, because he had not seen him fight.
Yeah, the first 2, the first 1 or 2 rounds. Yeah,
about round the end of the 5th.
And then he pulled him into deep water, and then made him look really ridiculous.
He let him get tired, because he knew he was going to throw some heavy punches at the beginning. He knew he was outweighted. And the first 4 rounds, the punches that Conor were throwing had some power behind them. Then about 5th round, you could tell he started getting tired. Yeah. And they were like, tap, tap, tap,
Oh my God, he was so tired. He was stepping back flat-footed.
Yeah. Oh. Well, and then you notice too, at about midpoint of the 9th round, it was like a switch hit. Like his energy just, I'm like, good God. And I turned to one of the guys that was here, and I said, dude, he's done. So
how many rounds are in MMA? It's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5-minute rounds. So right around that 25-minute mark, the fight was over.
Yeah.
Dude,
because
I'm trying to tell you that 9th round, man.
You could see, I mean, right at about that, like you said, the 25-minute, where the distance that McGregor has ever gone, it was like, I have no more.
Well, he did one more burst, at the beginning of the 9th round, and then it was just like
the 10th. Yeah, there was just this much.
Was it the 10th or I think it was the beginning of the 9th, and then he faded, and then he came out and then just dismantled him in the 10th.
Yeah, and I think, like Wade says here, he said Floyd was hit with angles that he'd never seen. And that's the thing, he had to adjust. Like, wow, this is weird. Plus, he was kind of getting hammer-fisted.
And then he took his back a couple times and was fighting.
So there were some weird things that Floyd had to adjust to. And here's the thing. I'll get back to the ref in a second, but here's the thing.
The ref was weird.
Well, he was weird. I'll address it now. He was weird, but like at the beginning, whenever they were doing the here are the rules. He's laying down the rules. He stared at Conor the entire time.
I know, like, you better listen. It's weird.
And I was like, oh God, this is so. I mean, we're already in Floyd's town. We know that everything's slanted to his favorite. Now, what is the ref really going to? And initially, I thought because he kept pointing out things Conor was doing. But he called a fair fight.
He let him get away with some weird stuff. He let him get away with that hammer fist.
He didn't deduct points, which he could have. He'd tell Floyd, turn around, stop turning your back, stop ducking your head. I think it was fair, although I do disagree. Any other fight, call it where it was needed to be called. But the magnitude of this fight, all the build-up, dude, it was fatigue. He wasn't injured. It was fatigue. You got to let the fight go. And I like what Conor said. You got to give the man a chance to knock me down.
Right.
I was tired. You know?
Right.
And you know what it feels like to have fatigue like that, how it feels.
Okay, now I agree, but I have to play devil's advocate for both of us.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been more than a half dozen deaths in the last 3 years in the ring. Conor McGregor witnessed one of his friends die in Dublin.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen in the ring. They get when you get knocked out, it's a small concussion. And we spoke on this, what a concussion really is. It's the brain is bleeding. When you're hitting with those little 4-ounce gloves that you use in MMA, it's more like a cutting blow, or like it hits hard, but it's different when you add ounces. If you drop a pin, if you hold a pin probably weighs less than an ounce. But and so does a bullet. You put speed behind it, the speed of sound, 500 miles an hour, it will kill you. What I'm saying is, you drop a pin on the ground or you slam it down on the ground, it's hundreds or thousands of pounds per square inch.
Right.
So every ounce that you add, those 8-ounce gloves, that's not a cutting blow. It's more like it's more like a car crash against your brain, against the wall of your skull. So why would you take that kind of damage for the last fight you're ever going to do in boxing? And I'm not saying it would kill you, but if you get knocked down or knocked out, that's a concussion that could ruin you for the rest of your career. Was Mike Tyson, once he got knocked out, was never the same again.
But it's just I do agree with that. But
you got to protect the fighter.
I do agree with that. But
he's an amateur at the end of the day.
That's what and that's an important point. But that's what you sign up for. It's a brutal combat sport, right? And if you really watch, if you watch the slow motion of that, he got hit a few of those times, but a lot of them weren't very solid hits. And I guess I'm just saying
he wasn't protecting himself.
He wasn't protecting himself, but nonetheless, it's like even when they called it, you could tell he was tired. He goes, "I'm fine. I'm tired." And then when he got interviewed, he goes, "You got to give him a chance to knock me down." I mean, I agree, but I just think the magnitude of the fight and what it was, you don't call it there. I mean, there was not that much time left in the 10th round.
Right. And then you go into that last round exhausted and really I don't know, man.
And then if he'd come out after the break, and he was not okay, call it. I gave you a chance to come back out. Mm-hmm. You clearly can't go on. We're calling this fight. Right. So it's funny. I agree with the call on any other fight, but that fight, because there was so much, and here, let's say this too. It wasn't MMA versus boxing.
It was not.
And so people keep saying boxers, they validate, well, it just shows you a boxer's been in. No, Floyd wouldn't last 30 seconds in the MMA cage.
Exactly.
It wouldn't happen.
Exactly.
So the fact that you had a guy that, and call it for show or whatever, that was able to stand toe-to-toe with arguably one of the best boxers ever strapped on gloves for 10 rounds.
Right.
That has no background in boxing.
Right.
Floyd's been boxing since he was this tall.
Right.
Amazing. Right. And there's an age difference and all that, but still Floyd still is one of the most skilled fighters still out there at his age. So.
Right. The last point I'll make is Floyd is not a knockout artist.
He's never
and he typically drags you to the 12th round, and he stopped Conor. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I think he could have stopped it a little early. Arturo Gatti didn't get knocked out. He gave up on the stool.
Yeah.
And
he did.
If I was Conor, I'd be like, dude, it was stopped. I mean, I did well. Yeah. He can. Everybody's proud of him. Mm-hmm. Like, just be humble at this point. Just be like, look what I did.
Yeah.
Don't act like you would have been able to make some sort of comeback.
I don't know that he was saying that he could do that. I mean, he was gracious at the end, but I think he wanted to at least. Funny. Well, it's funny. He was more like, you have to give him an opportunity to knock me down. You can't. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, you wanted to be knocked out. So
I get. I understand that.
Yeah.
Like some people want to carry me out on my shield.
Exactly.
But
and you got to think. We talked about his history, being a plumber, living in a car. I mean, he's a street kid, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you're going to drag me out of here. You don't step in and call it. Let me, decide my fate.
So you convinced me.
Yeah,
I can get why he was saying it now, because he's like, you know what? I'm putting everything out there. Let me put it all out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's probably going to retire after this. I think he made over 100 million.
How does he go back to
$400 million?
And how does he go back to MMA doing anything? He's never going to get payday like that. I don't know what
he's going to make. I mean, when you have 100 million, what's 2 or 3 more million for fighting? Yeah. I mean, why put yourself in that type of? I don't know.
Yeah,
I would just be like, hey, here's the belt back, here's the boom back. I'm gonna go into movies. He's so charismatic. I would just go to movies.
Very charismatic, and we'll talk about this here in a minute. But again, I admire everything Floyd does in the ring. I don't like his out of the ring stuff, but at his post fight interview, I was like, I shouldn't be liking him right now, but damn, he is very likable.
I don't want to like him.
He was so respectful. Oh, he was much better than I expected him to be. He was a fighter. I mean,
I think he's wanting to go out in a good light. I don't know how you do it after some of the things he's done in his past, and you're about to touch on that, I'm sure.
We'll touch on that in a second. I may get back to that in a second. What I do want to cover is, do you have anything? I know we spent more time with it than we probably really wanted to. So this really kind of came down, and this wasn't even part of my plan today. So what we do, we don't script the show, as we know. We talked about that in the past. We don't script the show. But with our new format, the way we're kind of doing now, segmented and things like that, whatever kind of piques our interest during the week, we'll pull down, do a little research.
Segment it into our groups that we have available to us, sports, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll segment it down and share things that piqued our interest. This hit last night. And I could not. I mean, this was not. It may bump a story that I had.
That's fine.
But this is what came down last night. I don't know if it was the Washington Times, New York Times, whoever discovered it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll have the link in the show notes. Let me real quick, Colin. I know we promised to give our guest. Wade said the things we do for money, and. So thanks, Wade. Thanks for sharing too, Wade, and everyone else. If you share. Do
you remember when you were a kid? You'd be and Mike Tyson was knocking everybody out in the first round. You'd hear people, oh, man, I wouldn't take $10 million to go. I wouldn't go one round with Mike Tyson. To this day, I'm telling you, I would not take any amount of money to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, especially if I can't remember it,
because he could permanently damage. I mean,
or kill. I can't believe he didn't kill anybody. Yeah. As fast as he was knocking out people.
Yeah, and that's the thing we were talking about, the fight. I mean, it went 10 rounds. We're like, yeah, I feel like, the money I paid was worth it. Tyson, a lot of his fights going first and second round, I'd be like,
pissed. You son of a man. Damn, people were so mad, man. It's like, I paid all that money for this.
Wait, go through 12 undercards to see you fight for 45 seconds. Damn it. It made me so mad.
I know, right?
I remember like 40 of his fights were on one VHS cassette because they all fit.
VHS. That's all I heard in that. VH, what the hell is that?
I still got it. I should show it. Next episode, I should show it. Tyson written in Sharpie on it. It's funny, man. But you know how you see fighters, Ali, they'll show highlights of his career. Well, Mike Tyson's whole career was a damn highlight. He didn't go for a few.
Exactly. Man, I used to watch him on the bag like, oh, how is he doing that?
What the hell?
So, like, poor bag.
They talked about, I think we talked about this before, but they talked about how hard he punched, and a lot of boxers were like, yeah, I'm prepared. And then they would interview and said, I was not prepared for how hard he hit. Exactly. I had no idea. It would disorient them.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Body shots.
Yeah.
Costamato. But imagine every time you work out, you have a Costamato. That's good, but you want it to be perfect. You want it to be perfect. Yeah, now you're perfect. I'm like, if I had somebody, I'd be like, I would be so awesome, man.
And him
but he was never yelling, just like, you want it to be perfect. Perfect.
And you hear that in the corner the whole time, too.
I don't want to be perfect. I want to be perfect.
I forget which fight it was. It may have been when he won his heavyweight championship at age 19. That first body shot he gave the guy was like, he like folded over. I was like, good
I
God.
know, man.
It was a perfect, full rotate.
Oh,
beautiful.
man. Beautiful.
Anyway, so
I wish they stopped talking about boxing.
I'm sorry. Well, it's something that happened, and it brought people out that have really never watched boxing because they were intrigued by this Conor McGregor. And
it's a spectacle, but it was awesome.
It was fun.
And it was worth the money.
It was.
Who thought we would say that at the end?
Oh, my God. It was so worth it. And I invited a friend over that boxes. He's done some professional
Scott
boxing.
bought the fight, if you didn't know
Yeah,
already.
and so he's like, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to watch an old recorded fight. It's like he's a boxing purist. I'm like, dude, it's going to be entertaining. He
didn't come?
He didn't come over. He watched an old recorded fight. Didn't even watch it. So
wow.
Anyway, so okay, so this was broken by New York Times or Wall Street Journal. Trump associate boasted, and we don't ever we highlight some things that Trump and political stuff, but this kind of hit me, and it all about the whole Russian ties. Trump associate boasted that Moscow business deal will get Donald elected. Okay, a business associate of President Trump promised in 2015 to engineer a real estate deal with the aid of the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, that he said would help Mr. Trump win the presidency. The associate, Felix Sater, I think is how you say his name, which actually was a broker in Trump's organization, a real estate broker, wrote a series of emails to Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, in which he boasted about his ties to Mr. Putin. He predicted that building a Trump Tower in Moscow would highlight Mr. Trump's savvy negotiating skills and be a political boon to his candidacy. Here's what I think is funny about all this. These were all emails that were discovered. And all the issues that Trump, about Hillary's emails are coming back to bite his ass big time.
Right.
Major. So they keep finding all these correspondence, these things that are happening. So this is, pretty important. Here's what he says. This is a part of an email to Michael Cohen from Felix Sater to Michael Cohen. Our boy can become president of the USA and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on this. I will manage this entire process. Now, keep in mind, American intelligence agencies all are in agreement that the Russian government interfered with the 2016 presidential election. There's no denying that. So they don't have any agenda, right? Mm-hmm. They're completely, in the middle of the road. Their whole job is to investigate.
Right.
So Mr. Sater is also a Russian immigrant. He said he had lined up financing for the Trump Tower deal with VTB Bank, a Russian bank that was under American sanctions for involvement in Moscow's efforts to undermine democracy in Ukraine. In another email, Mr. Sater envisioned a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Moscow. VTB Bank. What they're not mentioning here, I did some research on. It's a Russian bank that is owned 60% by the Russian government.
Okay.
So he's aligning financing with a Russian bank owned by the Russian government that is controlled by Vladimir Putin.
Of course.
That Trump is aware of this financing is coming from. But all along, Trump said he's never had any business dealings with. Okay. So this is all coming to a head now. I will get Putin on this program where we will get Donald elected. Mr. Sater said he was eager to show video clips to Russian contacts of instances of Mr. Trump speaking glowingly about Russia and say he would arrange for Mr. Putin to praise Mr. Trump's business acumen. If he says that we own this election, Americans' most difficult adversary, being Putin, agreeing that Donald is a good guy to negotiate would be, good for Trump. To be clear, the Trump organization has never had any real estate holdings or interest in Russia. This was a statement from the Trump organization. But Mr. Trump did sign a non-binding letter of an intent for a project in 2015 for Moscow. So no business, but you signed a letter of intent to have some business dealings there.
Right.
So to act like that nothing ever happened is a complete lie, as we know. Mr. Sater said it would be pretty cool to get a U.S. President elected and say he desired to be an ambassador to the Bahamas. That, my friend, is a home run I want out of this, is to be an ambassador to the Bahamas. Mr. Sater is a former FBI informant who is famous for having once smashed a martini glass stem into another man's face, and he has maintained a relationship with Mr. Cohen, Trump's attorney, for years. The two men have spent decades operating in the world of New York commercial real estate, where the sources of funding can be murky at times, as we kind of know. Through his lawyer, Mr. Sater declined on Monday to address why he thought the deal would be a political win for Mr. Trump. He said he brought the project to Mr. Cohen in late 2015, but that he was not working for the Trump organization would not have been compensated by them. Of course, you'll find out that he was a broker for the Trump organization for 7 years and was compensated quite well by them over the years. So how can you separate that out? You're being compensated by them. During the course of our communications over several months, I routinely expressed my enthusiasm regarding what a tremendous opportunity this was for the Trump organization. Of course, for him as well, right? Because he wants to be the ambassador.
Right.
As a broker for the Trump organization, Mr. Sater had an incentive to overstate his business making. He presents himself in emails as influential in Russia, and he helped to arrange a 2006 trip for Mr. Trump's daughter, Ivanka, to Moscow. He says, I've arranged for Ivanka to sit in Putin's private chair at his desk in the office of the Kremlin. So Ivanka said, this was a statement I think she made yesterday. She said she had no involvement in the discussions about Moscow deal other than to recommend possible architects. But she also went on to say, which I'm sure her dad's not very happy about this, she did take a trip there in 2006, and she could have sat in Mr. Putin's chair, but she doesn't recall. You would remember that. That to me is admitting she's giving that statement. So if she's ever questioned, she said, I never denied it.
Right.
So she's giving her an out either way.
Right.
So that to me is admitting that you did do that. So here's a couple of excerpts from it. And then
Was Putin in the chair?
And Donald might have liked that. Terrible. So, okay. So here's an email from November 3rd, 2015 at 5:40 p.m. from Felix Sater to Michael Cohen. Michael, we can own this story. Donald doesn't stare down. He negotiates and understands the economic issues, and Putin only wants to deal with a pragmatic leader. I like that, pragmatic, right? That use of that word. Mm-hmm. And a successful businessman is a good candidate for someone who knows how to negotiate. Business, politics, whatever it is, it's all the same for someone who knows how to deal. Michael, I've arranged for Ivanka to sit in Putin's private chair at his desk at the office in the Kremlin. I will get Putin on this program, and we will get Donald elected. We both know no one knows how to pull this off without stupidity or greed getting in the way. I know how to play it, and we'll get this done. Buddy, our boy can become president of the USA, and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin teams to buy into this. I will manage this process to its entirety. So that's the latest. So evidently there are ties to Russia, as we expected, and now even more proofs coming out. These are high-ranking people in Trump's organization, his own personal attorney.
Right.
So, and not only that, the subject of the email is Putin/Trump. You got to know, if you're thinking about running for president, why would you send emails? I mean, you need to have some other form of communication. So
Morse code.
Here's smoke signals.
Here's the thing, man. And it's funny that we had a whole unplugged on this with the kids.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're going to experience more gray area than just black or white.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's politics. And I hate that I didn't screenshot this version of the definition of politics because I can't find it again. It's almost like, oh my God, did you let it out that one day? And then they got rid of it somehow. Yeah. But I have to go back, and if I ever find it again, I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to save it in my drive, in my cloud. Mm-hmm. But the true meaning of politics, Sumerian meaning of politics, is making everyone think your idea is their idea.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me about what I used to hear about Obama that came out, Reagan, to, all the presidents, all the senators, everybody that's in politics. There's going to be politics involved. There's going to be lies. There's going to be deceit. There's going to be secrets. And it just doesn't surprise me. What I'm disappointed in is I wish the mascot that was up there would just look a little bit more presidential more often. Yeah. That's all. You know what I mean? Like, all of them to me are pieces of shit.
I mean, and the thing is they prepare, and you'll see anytime because Trump ad libs, and president's ad lib, but he's terrible at ad libbing. he needs to stay on script. I mean, because you'll have these staffers that will tweet, they're like, that was not part of a plan, what he just said. We don't know where that, oh my God, you know, it creates this.
And then they have to come back in and try to fix it.
Because he goes off script way too much. And he's not great at it because his vocabulary is so small. He says the same shit over and over. And it's all about, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, my dick's bigger than yours. Right? I mean, it's that kind of mentality. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, because you think about the whole where the Charlottesville, the stuff that happened there. He's making a whole comment about that. Then as he's leaving, he's like, yeah, I like the people there. I have a winery there, one of the largest, one of the greatest. It's not about you. Can you stop trying to sell shit all the time?
Right.
Stop it, man. And I mean, it's embarrassing to.
Well, yeah, and I agree, but also with that, I mean, why are we still surprised? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not surprised, but
you know, it's once you get called on enough lies, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Let's just move on. Oh, we lied. Okay, boom. You know what I mean? Oh, this is the case. All the presidents have lied. I mean, every single one of them.
I agree, but
it's just some of them are better at making it look like the truth.
Well, I think, like I say, the thing that I think about.
Did not have sexual relations with that woman.
and see, they always try to make that kind of comparison too. Is like, really, you're comparing that what that occurred to the things that Trump is doing in the world, and we know, you know, all the other things that he's done as far as obstructing and all the shit that he's done. But the thing that concerns me is he's going to lie. He's going to lie. People need to continue to point it out because he shows all these smoke screens to try to divert it.
Right.
But
it'd be different. It would be different type of lies if Hillary was in there. She has a very gloomy past as well.
What and the thing is if it's going to be a detriment to my family's safety, that's when I start really perking up and saying,
I agree.
I'm not so certain. Hillary may tell every 5 words could be a lie, but I couldn't see her getting into a situation where I actually feel like even our most closest allies are starting to go,
what the hell?
They're fucking crazy there.
Right.
I can't even co-sign anything that they're talking about right now.
That's my biggest concern.
That's
like
the thing.
Evidence of our allies being like, I mean, how do you piss off Australia?
Australia? How do you have Canada?
Canada.
I mean, all of our closest allies are like, we have to distance ourselves.
Right.
And then you're getting into, are you kidding me? You're getting into an argument with Kim Jong-un, the mental midget of the world. You're showing that you're that type of person too. Show your strong negotiation skills of building Trump organization that you've got these great Well, to me, you're showing that you're not great at negotiating. You know, you're trying to bulldoze over people. This is not how it works in the political world. Right. It may work in back alleys when you're trying to negotiate real estate deals, but in the stage of the global economy, it doesn't work that way. Right. Even I know that, and I'm not the damn president.
Right.
So anyway, just like I say, anything that's going to be a detriment to the safety of my family, I look, and it causes me. He can lie all he wants, but if it's going to cause me any kind of safety issues, dude.
Fair enough.
You know, so.
And disclaimer, I guess this whole episode is going to be shitty as far as, because I got some bad news on mine too.
Go ahead, share yours. Go ahead.
Oh my God, man. Well,
sometimes we got to have heavier episodes.
We got to have heavier episodes, and this is just one of those times we can't ignore what's going on in Texas
at all. It's completely sad. Let me say this real quick, and here's what I'll say. I'm going to let you carry that because I'll catch up on some of these things people are saying here. But I have a friend. It's actually a client of mine that's relocating from Texas to here. They don't live in Houston, but they live on the outskirts. He happens to be an ABC cameraman. So anything that goes on nationally that needs to be covered locally in Houston, he's the cameraman for the ABC affiliate. So I messaged him yesterday. I said, hey, what's going on? He said, obviously he's working. All the shots,
of course,
all the shots that you see on Good Morning America are his shots. That's his camera shots. So anyway, he goes, you can't believe the video and photos, as we know, doesn't do it justice. You have no idea what it's like here.
Right.
And we talked on this a little bit. 2010 flood here was, as you know, quote unquote, financially devastating, but there's not as many people
exactly.
here.
Our population surplus is way less. I'm not that makes it any better or worse, but you know, we had lots of areas that were flooded that didn't have any people in it.
Well, like a lot of downtown Houston is actually flooded. We didn't have downtown Nashville with the impact of this. I mean, Houston is the 4th largest populated city in the United States.
Wow.
New York, LA, Chicago, and Houston.
Right.
So that kind of tells you the people that are displaced, the things that are occurring there. So I'm gonna let you carry there, but yes, it's very heavy, and it's a sad situation. And I mean, yeah, when we talk about current events, sometimes they're going to be heavy. Thankfully, you guys know that tune in. Most of our shows is light topic. We go and we have fun with it, but this is going to be a heavier episode.
It's going to be a heavier episode.
So go ahead, Colin.
And we try to at least play devil's advocate to what we're thinking. We try to be rational.
And you can see we don't always agree. That's why it says two rational bashers. We both have our own viewpoints and how we've come to our own rationale on
right,
things.
Absolutely.
So you can see us having some disagreements, but then we also, I get your view of point.
Absolutely.
That's where conversation and things change. Unfortunately, a lot of times that doesn't happen outside of these type of scenarios. So,
exactly.
good.
Well, before I say what I'm about to say, I went to see a movie last night. It was the Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh, I want to see that.
It's the best movie you'll see this year.
I was hoping to go see it with you.
It's so I'll go see it with you again. It's not a problem.
Okay, go ahead.
But there's so many things in it that's entertaining and funny. But there's this one moment where there's a perfect quote, and I'm not going to be able to quote it, of course, because I'm going straight off the top of the head. I mean, it just came to me in this moment. It was a synchronicity. But you have the hitman who only snipes the wicked people.
And the hitman has a bodyguard, which is hilarious.
Exactly, right? And the plot line and everything, it works. It really does. But the bodyguard will pretty much guard anyone. Okay, so there was a point where they're going back and forth. I'm telling you, their chemistry was perfect. Like how they would go back and forth at each other, and he was just like, "Oh, you think you're good? You think you're good?" And it was Ryan Reynolds talking to Samuel Jackson. He goes, "Oh, well, what did?" He goes, "So that's a question for God, isn't it?" He goes, "What would you say to God? Is it the motherfucker that goes around killing evil people, or is it the good person that's protecting the evil person from going to prison?" And then Ryan was just like, "Man, touche." But it's mostly gray. You know what I'm saying? There is no clear cut this and that.
Right.
It's a gumbo.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all that to say this. In Houston, in Texas, the hurricane coming through, there are people that are dying in an incredible number. Like it's Katrina all over again. It's those numbers.
Yeah.
And I would hope if I was even a millionaire, like $1 million, and that was my net worth. Mm-hmm. I would hope that if I had any sort of huge building and I don't know. That's why I say I would hope that I would. I don't know what state I would be in. I don't know what I'd willing. There's been times that I've walked past someone and gave them $1 that was homeless, and there's been times I've walked past 20.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest and vulnerable here. I don't know what I would do. If you dropped your wallet and you're right in front of me, I'm going to get your wallet and I'm going to give it back to you. If I find your wallet and I find some evidence of who you are inside your wallet, I'll get it back to you. But if I find $100 and it's on the ground, I'm not asking anybody, "Hey, did anybody lose any money?" I made $100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I see it fall out of your pocket, I'll give it to you. But if it's on the ground, I'm getting it to my pocket as quick as I can. I'm just telling you what it would be.
Yeah.
All right. So if I was a millionaire, I would do all I could if I was in Texas.
Yeah. Well.
All right. So you have churches that are in Texas that have opened up their church. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, they're nonprofit, but they don't make a lot of money. A lot of them break even with that being the case. You know, they have enough to pay their staff, and contrary to popular belief, most preachers put themselves on a salary and they pour the rest of their money back into the community and back into their church.
Right.
And this is coming from a person who is not a Christian.
Yeah, me either. And
I'm not a
you're
Christian.
exactly right.
Okay, this is what they do.
I love what the church is doing in the community.
A lot of most churches are philanthropists to the fullest extent. All right, so then you turn around and you see what we've done here in Nashville. There's been people that have gotten together with their groups and taken supplies and gotten ready. They know they're going to be dealing with asbestos and they're going to be dealing with mold and all kinds of stuff. And they are driving on their own dollar down there to help out, to rebuild, blah, 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 and to help evacuate and all this. Own dollars. Okay. Joel Osteen's net worth is $56 million. $56 million. Okay. Just his books and the church makes $50 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So his net worth is probably going to grow probably $2 million a year, because I don't know if you understand, the magnitude of how expensive it would be to keep that network going, and the church and all that stuff and his staff. They're making a large chunk of the money that's coming in. I know $50 million. It seems like his network will go up a lot more, but I mean, to make that much, you're spending a lot. But $56 million would not open his doors. His church holds 16,000.
Yeah, it's a huge
16,000 just seats. That's before you get to all the rooms, all the bathrooms. Mm-hmm. He did not open his doors. 22 hours ago. Well, and it took us a little longer to get going, so now it's like right at 24 hours. I'm gonna use his first name and his nickname. This man's name is Jim Mattress Mac. Jim Mattress Mac. He owns a gallery furniture. The gallery furniture is just a mattress place. It's just a mattress warehouse. But he owns 2 big warehouses. This man goes online and he just says, anybody who needs a place to stay, you, your pet, and your family, we have mattresses, we have food, we have plenty of water. You come here. Texans have stuck together for 200 years, and we're not going to stop now. You come here, we're going to take care of you, and as long as it takes. Now, granted, his net worth is worth more than Joel Osteen's. He's $75 million, but he stepped up immediately.
Okay, let's think about that for a second. Can I punch in here?
Sure.
So let's think about that for a
Please.
second. Let's think about that for a second. So Jim Mattress, what'd you say his last name is?
Jim Mattress Mac.
Jim Mattress Mac. How many people know who he is? Raise your hand.
Nobody.
Crickets. How many people know Joel Osteen? Millions of people know.
Right.
Him. Okay, think about this. I'm not going to open my doors for whatever his. Can't even imagine what reason he could give that would make sense.
I just don't understand it.
But here's what he could do: turn on my mic to my huge audience of people. Hey, look, we need to bound together. I need each and one of you that give to me every Sunday when I get up here and smile and I sell you my books, because that's all I'm doing is selling the damn book to you. Not my opinion. I don't think he's adding much value to people's lives they couldn't seek out on their own, right? He's selling a book. So anyway,
that helps.
You know what I'm saying? Come on. Turn the mic on. Well, it's because he has a history of this kind of stuff, so this doesn't surprise me.
It surprises me. I don't know a lot about it.
Turn on the mic and say, guys, I need each one of you that donate to me each Sunday. Instead of donating to me this Sunday, take that and donate to.
That would have been brilliant. But look what he did. Here's the synchronicity. Here's what he did. This was while the doors were closed, and the doors are still closed. Now he's putting mattresses and stuff in there, but it's after the fact. It's after the backlash. Now,
and who is this?
Before Joel Osteen.
Okay,
this is before all the stuff hit. He had hurricane relief, give now, $50, $100, $200. What are you doing? How are you gonna help? Like he's asking for money on top of the fact he makes all this money every Sunday. He makes all this money a year, and he has all this money in a net worth. He's asking for more, and the doors are closed right now. And then they put out fake news. I hate that term, but they put out fake news stating that they were underwater. Dude, it is dry in the basement.
Yeah.
That pisses dude, it's just like, it's dry in the basement, man. You know what I mean? It's dry in the basement. Can we talk about that for a minute? So I just don't understand, like just the authenticity of someone. Now, these mattresses that people are laying on are his mattresses that he could have sold.
Sell, yeah.
He can't sell them now.
He's got to scrap all the inventory.
He's got to scrap all the inventory. You're going to have a certain amount of vandalism, not even really vandalism. I'm not going to say that, but damage.
Yeah.
Because there's people in an area that's not equipped for life,
designed
like
for
living.
Yeah.
But they're making it work, and he's like, "Man, I got all this money. I'm going to be okay."
Yeah.
And now, granted, is this going to be a huge advertising thing for him? He's probably going to make a lot of money out of it, but I don't think that was his
intention. Well, and that's the thing that surprises me about Joel Osteen. And what I'll say is, I maybe we'll do an episode. I'll pull up some of the things where his philanthropy efforts and things like that are just not. He gets up and preaches one way, and he does something completely, totally opposite. I mean, he's great in front of the camera and smiling and saying, "Hey, whatever," and he does things differently behind, closed doors. We could talk about that another time. But you would think that would be an opportunity for him to say, "Hey, I'm a master promoter. This is my opportunity to grow the Osteen ministry even larger."
Exactly.
Like if he's thinking greed, like what he's doing by selling his book, dude. Oh, this is a prime example for me to really.
He really missed the boat. Like that would have been a perfect opportunity. Open those doors right now. Look, boom, boom, boom. Oh, yay. The water hit us. The water hit us.
And what's crazy, I literally can envision him in his $3,000 suit standing at the door, shaking people's hands as they come in,
Come on in. Now, the only stipulation is you're going to have to buy my book and listen to me preach.
I'm going to open my church to you because he's hard to watch because I can tell it's just so fake and it's so. I want to listen to his message because a lot of things he says are very, they're inspirational. They're very good, but it's coming out of his mouth. It's like, oh, I know you don't believe this, So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at some point and just like, well, I'll let them in, but they gotta drink the Kool-Aid, and it'd be a whole other Jim Jones situation. Just like, why'd you make them drink the Kool-Aid? Well, you the one that told me to open up my door. Shit.
So I don't know why this popped in my head. So there, there's a lot of uncertainty with ethnic background, people, the visas and things not being renewed quickly. And there is, I will say that there's a good thing that the Trump administration is doing as far as when you go to renew your visa, you are now actually, they're starting to, and don't quote me verbatim on this, but they're requiring more of a face-to-face interview again.
Right.
To where they have to actually meet you and ask you a few questions just to, try to pick up on something. So that's great. Before it was like a streamline, but there's another way that you can obtain your visa if you've been here for a long time that you can bypass that interview.
Right.
But these are people I think that it's either their first time back in or something like that. So that's cool. That's fine. But with that, I think it was California. I'm not sure. I saw a video on CNN or wherever it was that I saw it, and it was a group of Mexicans protesting something. The sound was off. I don't know if it was unfair wages or whatever. Right. And they're all wearing the big sombreros and carrying piñatas. And I look and I can't help but I laugh. I go, nobody's going to take you seriously.
Why are they clicheing?
Why are you accepting that label that everybody's? I mean, you didn't see people in the.
Did you roll down the window? Did you hear?
I mean, I was like, they're not going to take you seriously protesting. I mean, you didn't see people doing the civil rights dressing up as buckwheat and carrying watermelons.
Right. with a chicken bit, with a bite out of it, chicken leg,
a bucket of chitlins or something. I mean, come on, man, they're not going to take you seriously. It's just,
I don't understand that logic.
Like, what are they doing? I mean, come on.
We want them to know we're Mexican.
I mean, literally, they have piñatas on sticks and with the big sombreros. I'm like, what the hell?
So you didn't find out?
No, I know that they're mad about it because they, the little cross is like protesting for some kind of, I don't know what kind of rights it was, equal wages or something. But I'm like, God, if I'm seeing that and I'm laughing, nobody's going to take you seriously. It's a joke. I mean,
well, it made an impression.
It made an impression, not the right kind. Because anyway, so I thought you'd find that
that's hilarious.
I don't know if anybody else saw that. Let's see if anybody's got any questions here, Colin, and if you got another topic you want to move into. Let's see here.
What you got?
Let's see. I'm refreshing the page. Make sure I don't miss any questions here. I know Wade says something about people. I don't see it now. For some reason, it's gone. I know he didn't delete it, but it's just for whatever reason it's showing. He said something about any comment on the protest for the FOP here in Nashville. I don't have any comments. I haven't really been following that.
I haven't either.
I have, and that's probably unfair. I should be looking in my own backyard, but the things that impact me are the big national things that really catch my attention when I'm looking. And to be fair, I just don't have time to cover all that stuff, to look at all those things. So, unfortunately, I mean, I was shallow this weekend. I was really focused on the fight. I couldn't wait for my Saturday to get done so I could get home and watch the fight.
Right. It was crazy because everybody was watching the fight.
Ghost town. Yeah.
It was crickets everywhere. Like there was. It was weird seeing Nashville look like a ghost town. Like I saw two tumbleweeds racing.
Yeah. So Wyatt Earp and them coming out.
Wyatt Earp now.
So this next, it feels like we talked a lot about boxing, but this is timely. The only reason, if I do this next week, it won't be as relevant. People really won't care.
Exactly.
But this is relevant.
We better not say anything about boxing.
I'm not going to say anything about boxing. I'm not going to say anything about boxing.
It.
I'm pushing one of my stories I've been pushing for 2 weeks off because it's heavy, but it'll be one heavier thing. It's really just to bring light to something that people may be aware about, and it is going to be a story about Nashville. In any case, so we'll share that probably next week, and we'll have some other topic. This is heavy-esque. People do know about this, but many people may not. Mm-hmm. I mean, my wife and some other people that don't really follow boxing were actually kind of surprised that said, but do you really know Floyd outside of the ring? Oh, he's so likely. He's such a. Do you know him outside of the ring?
Right.
So this story is this was on reported by The Undefeated, and some other compilation of things that I've been pulling together. It's interesting, and I bought into it. I wasn't going to buy the fight because I was struggling with the outside of the ring. Floyd, like, I don't want him to be compensated for what I disagree with, but I got to separate the personal with the business side, and not. I'm not his judge. My job is to share this information, let you decide what you think. But I've been preparing information on his personal stuff for about 4 weeks, just gathering stuff because of all the hype around the fight.
Right.
And it just so happened it all came. I got everything finally organized that I wanted to share literally Friday, the day before the fight. So I was like, hey, this is perfect timing.
Right.
Because then I was trying to figure out, well, how am I going to talk about this again?
You won't,
because he may not fight again. This may or may not be.
I think he's done.
May be done. So
I hope he is.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, and we talked about this off topic, and I'll say this briefly. You could see that he's still immensely talented. He's still better than the 20-year-olds out there. But the Floyd that we know in the ring, he's slower. He's just a bit slower. His head speed's not quite what it used to be, but it's still better than 99% of the boxers. That's the thing.
That's it.
So
that's it.
It's just,
his boxing IQ is off the chart.
It's amazing.
His life IQ
not so much.
is moderate at best.
Well,
the evidence up into
and business part. Okay, boxing IQ in the
and
ring.
Business IQ.
The man has an eye and understands. Here's what he said. So they asked him in an interview. He said, "Why did you go into the strip club business?" He said, "Because music, alcohol, and vaginas will never go out of style." I mean, he's right. He knows that his strip clubs will be open forever, and he makes a lot of damn money. So it was like, damn, that's that's transparent.
That's transparent, and it's true.
It's true. So why Floyd Mayweather can still box after beating women? That's the title of this article.
Oh,
damn,
my Lord.
So here are the subplots of that. No photos. There's no central authority, and all the victims are black women. And we'll get into this here in a second. Even if boxing spectators are aware of the physical and emotional damage he's inflicted on the black women in his life for nearly 2 decades, there's little in American society that's more beside the point. Why does Mayweather remain such a compelling figure despite his repeated and documented instances of domestic abuse? There are no publicly available photos, as I said, showing the evidence of his crimes. There's no central organization to hold Mayweather and other abusive boxers to account. And there's an understanding, however contentious, that some boxers are inherently violent and their rage is uncontrollable. Furthermore, there's a long-standing pattern of victims, especially black women, holding their tongues to protect the black men who hit them. You have a comment, look like you were leaning in to make
No, I'm
sure.
listening.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay, Mayweather, and if you do any, hit the bell or punch in, because I'm going to try to get through this because there'll be some talking points. Mayweather has consistently deflected and dismissed the abuse he's inflicted. His explanations are twofold. Only God can judge me. He's repeatedly said. He's also maintained that there's no photographic evidence of his misdeeds. And here's what they say. That's because it's been locked away or legally destroyed by the Las Vegas officials.
Right.
Okay. He also understands the damning nature of video and photography, which is why he's repeatedly insisted on pointing out that there are no photographs of his crimes. In 2015, after journalist Michelle Beadle of ESPN and Rachel Nichols, which Rachel Nichols is, you may not know Michelle Beadle as much, but Rachel Nichols is very well known. She covers NFL and all that. She's a very good reporter.
Right.
She then of CNN publicly challenged Mayweather on his history of domestic abuse. The boxer responded by trying to ban them for covering his fight with Manny Pacquiao. Why would you do that? To me, that's an admission of guilt.
That's it. That's it.
You know, so
And she's not slandering you. She's asking you a question.
asking you a question.
She didn't say, why did you beat him? She said, what do you have to say about
what do you
it?
got to say about it? I mean, because people know.
Mhm.
People know. But if you follow boxing, you know, outside of boxing, again, the McGregor-Mayweather fight brought people into boxing that probably have never watched the fight.
Right.
And other people that watch fights once a year, once every 5 years. My wife didn't know anything. She knew Floyd Mayweather, but she didn't know much about him at all. So he's going to break Rocky Marciano's record. He's 49-0. He could go 50-0 if he wins. This is a pretty big deal.
Right. Right.
You know, he's 40 years old. Conor McGregor's 29. You know, it's a pretty significant fight. So here's what Mayweather says, and you find out that this is just not. This is a false statement. Everything has been allegations to this point. This is what he told The Guardian in 2015, despite court cases that say otherwise.
Oh, boy.
He said, nothing has been proven, so that's my life. When the news organization pressed him about the contradiction, Mayweather responded, once again, no pictures, just hearsay and allegations. Okay, let's look at Mayweather's record of domestic abuse quickly. And I'm not even going to cover them all. I'm just going to highlight 4 of them. 2001.
4?
Just 4 of them.
That should have been all of them.
Just 4. Should be 0, but yeah. Anyway, 2001. Mayweather punches Melissa Brim, the mother of his daughter, in the neck during an argument over child support at Las Vegas Mall. Okay. Floyd Mayweather's fighting somebody over child support. One of the wealthiest sports entertainment people ever to walk this earth. You're bitching about paying a little bit of money or child support for your own child? I find that very, you know, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of battery.
Okay,
so,
when was that?
2001.
2001.
So, okay, again, everything has been allegations is what he says. But he pled guilty to 2 counts of battery. That's not an allegation. You just pled guilty to something that you admitted that you did.
Right.
Okay. So, again, in-ring IQ, business IQ, phenomenal. I don't understand how he can't. Anyway. 2003. Mayweather is accused of punching 2 female friends of Hosea Harris, mother to 3 of other Mayweather's children. What? At a Las Vegas nightclub and chasing them out of the club. Mayweather receives a suspended sentence after being convicted of 2 counts of battery. He's ordered to undergo impulse control counseling. The verdict is later vacated and the charge is dismissed per negotiations.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't have access to what those negotiations were. So 2001, 2003, on to 2005. You see, it kind of has a pattern of every couple of years. These are the ones that we know about.
Right.
I mean, imagine the ones we don't know about, right? 2005. Mayweather stands trial for felony battery after allegedly punching and kicking Harris and dragging her out of his Bentley after she confronts him about cheating. Harris changes her story on the witness stand and says she lied to police about the fight and Mayweather's history of abuse. Mayweather is acquitted.
When was this?
That was 2005. All right.
Jeez.
2010. Moving into 2010.
Finally.
Okay, his Harris still lives in his house that Mayweather owns. Obviously she's like, I'm being beaten. Obviously I've got these things, but man, I sure do love the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a pretty good lifestyle. I can take a beating every now and then. That's really what she's saying. She is validating. You know what I'm saying? It's sad, but that's how I read that. Right.
Right.
And it's also too, you have this, having been in law enforcement, there's this honeymoon phase that you go through. Oh, I got to get away. I love him, but he loves me so much. And
because your state,
cycle.
your state goes, I'm going to do something. And then it's just like, but my consequence of leaving would be no money, no blah, blah, blah.
Well, then also too, you feel like that's all you deserve. You get into this pattern. Domestic violence training would teach you that
your
you
self-worth.
Get to your self-worth. It's constant, no pun intended, a beating down of your physical and mental, what you are, your state. 2015, Mayweather confronts Harris at the house for dating NBA guard C.J. Watson. After police head off the initial fight, Mayweather returns shortly before dawn. Listen to this, Colin. And beats Harris in the back of the head and threatens to beat his children. He threatens to beat his own children.
Right.
If they call the police, according to the report.
Wow.
In an account from his son to the Las Vegas PD. His son, then 10 years old. I saw my dad was on my mom, and my mom said, go to the office. My dad was hitting her. My dad kicked my mom, and he told me to go in my room. Mayweather contends that he was trying to restrain Harris and is charged with multiple felonies. He pleads guilty to misdemeanor domestic assault and harassment and is sentenced to 90 days in jail. Okay, let me go back. Let me refresh you because it could be easy to forget. Everything has been allegations.
Right.
Okay. Photographs may be the new burden of proof in the area of 24/7 cable news and social media, but Mayweather's abuse isn't alleged. He's actually served jail time for it.
Oh, wow.
So, well, we know 90 days, and then another time, he was in jail there. So why hasn't he suffered more professional repercussions like former Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice? I'm sure most of our listeners that are into sports may have been thinking about the Ray Rice case. Well, here's the thing, Colin. We have video evidence of Ray Rice doing this. It's appalling to see. This is all court documentation, or in Floyd's terms, allegations. There's no evidence that we can actually see. We actually see Ray Rice punching his wife, knocking her out, and dragging her out of the elevator.
Right.
Okay. So in 2014, the NFL suspended Ray Rice for 2 games for hitting his then girlfriend, now his wife, knocking her out, and dragging her unconscious body out of the elevator in Atlantic City, New Jersey casino. Why all these things happen in casinos and nightclubs?
They're not sleeping.
Right? It's crazy, right? So here's the thing.
They mad because they lost at the crap table.
So let's think about this for a minute. Boxing as a whole, there's no one individual governing body. WBC, WBA, IBO, IBF, or WF, whatever they are. They're all individuals. So you have 3 that won't care you fight, the other one will because it's a big payday.
Right.
So football has something boxing does not. It's called a governing body. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, hockey, you name it, they have a clearly defined set of rules in which you're expected to operate by on the field and then by extension in your personal life.
Right.
Because look what happened. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm a Cowboys fan. We all know that's been established. Ezekiel Elliott. He's been suspended now for 6 games. It could be reduced to 4 for beating his girlfriend, domestic abuse, and all that. Apparently there are photos. I've not seen them. I don't know. That is all. The case is, it doesn't even go to trial. It's thrown out, whatever. But the NFL has investigated, and they're holding him accountable for it. Right. So it has their own investigative body. Boxing doesn't have that.
Right.
So, and here's what I'm getting at. There's no central authority in professional boxing. 4 sanctioning bodies govern the sport, and they each have awarded their own belts: WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO. And this is what I just said. Even if one decides to suspend a boxer, there are 3 others that may decide otherwise, which means there's going to be a fight somewhere sanctioned by someone, especially if there's a lot of money on the line.
Right.
A single governing body could also insist on putting moral turpitude clauses in fighters' contracts that would affect their ability to earn a living.
Right.
Think about that. So that's what happens in all other sports.
Well, here's the difference, though. When you have, we have a football team here in Nashville. We have the Titans, and then you have all these other areas that have teams, and they have a roster of 20, 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One of those guys in one of those cities and one of those states and one of those teams, they get into some sort of trouble. They can easily be replaced, and they still make their billions of dollars for the season.
Yeah.
But this is one man talking one other man into fighting him that are making billions, multi-billions in a night.
Yeah.
Not a season, but in a night. So ratio-wise, boxing is more valuable.
Yeah.
And Vegas but they have exclusive rights to Floyd. So morality can be paid for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know it's sad, and that's why I labeled this episode a little heavy.
Yeah.
Because that's the bottom line. If you have enough money, you could buy your way out of a drinking and driving. You can buy your way out of domestic violence. You can buy your way out of murder. It was a Raven. What's his name?
Ray Lewis.
Yeah. And I don't know if he did it, but man, there was massive evidence.
Yeah.
A lot of evidence, and then all of a sudden he becomes, this.
Look at him now. He's motivational. Yeah, people love him, right?
I mean, if it took you killing somebody to motivate others, I mean, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. But all I know is you have enough money, you can buy your way out of a lot of things. And at the end of the day, it's not right, but it's that gray area that we keep talking about. You've got to learn how to navigate that gray area without money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what makes you who you are without money? And then get money, and then you might be able to do what this mattress guy, what Jim Mattress Mac is doing with his money. He wasn't a philanthropist before this, but as soon as the opportunity hit, dude, this is in our backyard. We're going to lose millions of dollars, but we're going to help as many people as we can. And he doesn't know if they have plenty of food. Why did he make that statement? Because he's going to make it plenty of food.
He's going to make it
He's
happen.
going to make the adjustment.
That's right, because he has access to resources that a lot of people wouldn't have, right?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I mean, but they always say that money and wealth highlights the mass or the hidden discrepancies in somebody, right? It really highlights and puts that under a microscope, and obviously we can see that with this article here. In this case, it can highlight the great in somebody too.
Exactly.
And that's what it did with him.
Exactly.
So what I would have loved, and I still got a little bit more here, but what I would have loved Mayweather to do, and I was thinking about this after the fight, I would have loved to have seen him in his fight because he was so diplomatic. He was like,
been great.
Conor was, he was, what do you think? Was he a tougher opponent? He was much harder than I expected, and he was so gracious. Hey, by the way, I know there's some people in Houston that are having some hard time right now. Tonight, a quarter, a half, whatever of my earnings tonight is coming directly to you. I'm going to do whatever I can to, and that's unfair to allocate somebody else's money. But like you said, I would hope, I know where I am right now. If I had access to that type of coffer, I would dip into that, say, scoop half of it out and give it. I would hope that I would still be in that mental place when I had it for a long time.
Or I go even further and say, yeah, you didn't take that platform to do that, but do it now.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? Like, don't boast about it, but just not anonymously. I mean, you don't care if people find out, but just do it.
Say, hey, I'm going to be honest. I was being, here's how I'm saying I was just fine. I'm not saying Floyd. Hey, I was being shallow. I was really caught up in the fight. We've had months of hype. That doesn't give me an excuse. I was thinking, I thought about this, and this was no direction of anybody else. I'm going to give a large sum of money to Houston. Whatever I need to do, I'm going to help.
Right.
I'm sorry that I didn't address that. I had a world stage to talk about it, and I apologize. I didn't hit that. my discrepancy, but I'm here now. I want to do something. You know what I mean?
Right. I
So
agree.
I would love to see that. I mean, you talk about not that it would change his history there, but it sure would. And that's not hopefully what he would be thinking. Oh, let me buy some of my morality back here. You know, some people to like me, but to say, hey, look, I am changing. I am trying to be a different. Yes, I did these things in the past because I pled guilty to these things, but I'm trying to be a different man.
Well,
I'm 40 now. Well, I'm 40. I'm a man. You remember that the coach from Oklahoma State?
Right. Well, I was hoping that a lot of the stuff was a long time ago. 2010. What's the most recent?
Yeah, that's the most recent one that I covered because it was kind of in detail.
Redundant.
Yeah. So
okay. So has there been anything recent?
I don't want to misquote the year.
Right.
I didn't write it down.
Okay.
So.
Oh, let's make an assumption and say 17 years ago that was the last. 7 years ago that was the last time. It's like he actually started 16 years ago, 2001.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first documented case, but you got to remember he was only 20.
Whatever, he's 40 now, whatever that makes him.
Yeah, he was 20 something.
You do the math.
And I'm like, 2001 all the way to 2010, like it's like he's getting worse.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't even want to make the statement I was going to make because what I was going to say is like Mike Tyson, he made a statement that he was going to knock a opponent's nose up into his brain and kill him. And then this guy came up and he was like, "Hey, Mike Tyson, remember that time that you said you were going to knock the nose all the way up in the brain?"
He goes, I was 19, 20 years old. What are you talking about? I'm 47 years old now. I was young.
He was basically stating that I'm no longer that man, but the evidence that you're giving me here is that not only is he the same man, but he's evolving. I'm hoping maybe in the last 7 years he's changed some, but in his press conference, like before the one that everybody's falling in love with, oh, look at him. Let me tell you, I don't care if somebody almost killed me in a ring. If I made $400 million in that night, shoot, I'd be hugging and kissing on the guy too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, everybody, everything's great. You want some wine? Come over to my place. I mean,
I wonder what would have happened if he had lost, what his tone would be. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, he
still made $400 million. He was the A side.
I still won, right?
Exactly. Well, I'm 49 and 0, but who really lost?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. So if somebody hits them too hard in the ring, meaning if somebody hits a boxer, they can retaliate any way that they like, pretty much, within the rules. At home, if somebody pisses them off, it's hard to say, well, now I'm not supposed to exhibit the same kind of behavior here as I am there. So many times they act like they are in the ring. Okay, I can get that, maybe. And I know that a lot of boxers, I can't say all, but there are they have a history of domestic violence. I get that if that's what you do all the time, that's your job. Right. You train day in and day out to fight. And, you have a coach in the corner. Okay, when somebody does this to you, you're aggressive.
Right.
So you're programmed, your instinct is to do that. But then the morality portion has to come in. It's like, I know this is not right.
Right.
So I'm not giving an excuse and saying it's okay, but I'm trying to understand maybe this is why. It's because you're programmed.
No, that's bullshit.
What I mean?
That's
good.
Bullshit.
So call it out.
That's bullshit because here's what boxing and martial arts and football, very, very violent sports, did for me as a young man growing up in the projects and being bullied and the whole racism, the whole thing. What it did for me is it gave me a example of personal development.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're in any sort of martial art, anything that you're using your hands with, and I know it sounds weird, but I include football in that because you're using your body to be defensive and offensive, and it's a team effort, but it's a martial art, no doubt about it.
Yep. So
boxing was included in that. I did it for 17 years actively, and what you find out is when you're in a situation, you're less beta and you're less likely to be self-conscious and be like, oh, I'm going to prove myself. You know your skills. You have evidence of it in your mind on that past tense thing that you did. And you put it on the line and you tested yourself. So you really don't have to constantly go around with Napoleon syndrome and you know, boasting. I remember there would be several times people would come up and they'd be, oh, all the things they're going to do. And I'm just sitting there looking at them, and then they go away because you can just almost sense when a person's not speaking, telling you what they're going to do, they're sitting there just waiting to react like, hey, man, I don't want any trouble, but, you know, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
You might kill me or whatever. Mm-hmm. When you have a person like that in front of you, you might want to be careful.
Yeah.
They could pull a gun or anything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The person that's talking and barking typically are chihuahuas barking and that's it with false teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm just stating, man, like, especially in karate, most of those kids don't get in fights.
Right. Exactly.
Football, most of those kids don't get in fights. Well, you know, wrestling, most of those kids don't get in fights.
And I agree. And it teaches you a respect for other people because, one, you know what it feels like. You're like, oh, shit, I don't like this, you know. So
you're more disciplined. And it was a roundabout way of saying your discipline is a little bit higher than the kid that is sitting in the back, letting everything stew and then boiling over and then put on a black trench coat and go to school and do your thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to immerse myself into the thought process of, you know, what they're saying and the evidence that I've found about it. It's weird that there's a lot of boxers that have a history of domestic violence. And so that statement, like, well, okay, maybe, I don't know, but it still doesn't justify why you're, you know, doing that. So, and here's some more excuses that they want to use. And again, it's how you navigate this, right? Mayweather comes from a troubled home. God, who doesn't have some kind of trouble?
Right.
His mother was a drug addict. His father was a drug dealer who was part of a family in Reno. Boxing brothers. Mayweather's father was in prison for drug trafficking when he was a teenager. Take any kid from the ghetto. That's their life.
Mm-hmm.
Do they all turn out to be abusers? No. So that's lame. God, man, stop. So and here's where he said this. He said, you know, why did you get in the strip club business? Because I knew breast, the vagina, and alcohol and music would never go out of style. So that's kind of funny. Mayweather's 5 documented accusers are all black women. So documented, let's remember that, because just like with old Uncle Bill Cosby, you know, there was nothing for years, and then suddenly these women were like, God, they had I guess the ability now to where they were comfortable to be able to come out because they're like, I can't be the only one. I don't want to be the one that's being, oh my God.
Dethrones Dr. Huxtable.
Yeah, so then the first person comes out, they're brave enough to say, oh God, I'm relieved. I can actually come out and not worry about being sued, being made fun of, being ostracized, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, in response to their allegations, he has cast himself as the true victim. Let me read that again. Mayweather's 5 documented accusers all have been black women. And in response to their allegations, Mayweather's response to their allegations, he has cast himself as the true victim. A black man bearing the cross of a race-based resentment in a white society that doesn't want to see him succeed. What in the hell does that have to do with you beating on women?
It's trying to divert over here. It's like, here's the fire. But over here, there's an avalanche. See the avalanche? That is
a victim.
The race card is not always. It's not always necessary.
I'm tired of it when it's used all the time. There's many times it's relevant. You know that it's relevant. You experience it.
Mm-hmm.
God, many times it's not, and it's so easy to use.
Right.
So it's kind of like this. It's terrible to say this, but cocaine, heroin, and all that stuff is very convenient and needed. Because here's why I say that. You go, where were you coming from? Well, it's a needed crutch for people to say, but yeah, I was doing this.
Exactly. I was drunk.
He knows that he's always got that card to play, and he played it right there, man. He cast himself as a true victim. A black man bearing the cross of a race-based resentment in a white society that doesn't want to see him succeed, that has nothing to do with you hitting a woman. Unreal, dude. You must realize this. For so many years, they tried to defeat me in so many different ways, negative things, but I couldn't be defeated inside the ring. So they tried to defeat me on the outside, far as trying to discourage me. Do I think they want for me to break Rocky Marciano's record? Absolutely not. Do I think? Do people want to see me fail? Absolutely. But I beat all the odds. I like how you use beat. Yeah. So here's something that, interesting here. He's 49, well, he's 50-0 now. 44 by knockout. 44 of those by knockout.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And it's more technical knockout because he wears them out. He's always over. Yeah, he's so conditioned. So that's Floyd Money, Pretty Boy Mayweather.
All right, well, I'm going to play devil's advocate. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready for devils?
I am ready for the devil. I see the horns.
Ready for devils?
Yeah, look, your headphones are popping off.
All right.
So we're an hour and a half. We're an hour and a half in.
Okay, and this will be my last statement. With Floyd Mayweather, the only excuse, not the boxing. The boxing didn't make him violent. That's not the problem.
Yep.
A lot of people, I mean, Mike Tyson, I keep going back to him. He had a troubled childhood, and if you look at what he's doing these days, he's very stable.
Yeah.
And
as stable as Mike Tyson
I'll go
can
on
be.
record as saying, and this is just my humble opinion, I think he might have Asperger's or something like that.
He probably does. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's a highly functioning whatever. From the time you're in the belly to the time you are 7, your hard drive.
Yeah.
Your hard drive. You in that period of time, you learn how to count. You learn your entire language. If several languages are introduced, you can learn all those languages. So I know this echoes some of the other stuff that we speak on as far as your subconscious mind, but this is fact.
Yeah.
All right. As I said last week, Sigmund and Freud. Sigmund Freud proved that your beta, alpha, theta, delta portion of your subconscious mind, as it's being developed as you're growing, delta is the first one. It's nothing but hard drive. It's drive. So if you're being introduced to science and language and love and care, that's going to be the base of what you have to work with. But if you are surrounded by drugs and fear and what was the other one? Your father being incarcerated, blah, 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 blah. You're probably going to have a lot of that in your hard drive. Just watching your mom getting beaten.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of that in your hard drive. Well, guess what? What it sounds like to me is boxing helped out because he didn't he went to jail for beating.
Right.
But for the most part, boxing kind of pulled him out of that world a little bit.
Gave him something else to focus on and an outlet. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have the fact that, they're trying to blame it on stuff that would be, I'm not going to say boxing is good because you're having a lot of head trauma, but those are the discipline things that were actually building on potential for him. And I don't know, man, I just hate it when people blame certain things on a violent sport.
Yeah.
Soccer's violent. I mean, it's like, don't take away the sport. Don't taint the sport because of the representation of the individual. Take a look at the individual. And then instead of enabling him or her to do their thing as far as the negativity, expose it, have them hold themselves accountable, and help them where due diligence is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, you beat them, you did this, you did that. Let's take a look. You even, by your own admission, you did X, Y, Z, and you experienced X, Y, Z. Let's talk about that and get some counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, done. You admitted it. You moved on. And then you could say, I'm growing when you're asked, not that there's no pictures, there's no evidence, but you could be like, you know what? Yes, I did that. And I don't know if this was the case, but I did have this violent past, but this is what I've done for the future. This is what I'm doing right now. and this is where I'm at. There's no further allegations or evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm growing. And then he could take the same stance as Mike Tyson. I'm no longer that man.
I'm allowed to evolve and change.
Exactly.
You got to give me that allowance as part of grace,
But
right?
he's not doing that.
He's not doing it. I mean, because we have recent evidence, and I won't make the next episode about it, but I'll try to find the most recent case. Say, hey, this is tags to the last episode. Here,
He beat his wife right before the Conor McGregor.
He beat her before and after, and he's beating her right now.
He went out there, he beat her up, went out and fought Conor McGregor, said his little statement, went back, and then beat her again. I don't know what's going on.
And I had a Snapchat, but shit, they disappear. So
heavy.
That was heavy. Next week, guys, I promise you, my commitment to you is, and again, to Rational Bastards, I can't speak for Colin on this, but I promise you my stuff won't be. I'm not even going to do this story I've been pushing on. I'll save it.
As soon as he did the Donald Trump thing, I just thought, oh my God, it's going to be heavy because I got the flood stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to hit those, and these are. I mean, not that the fight was important to cover, but everybody was talking about it. Even people that don't watch boxing.
We got to cover stuff is trending.
And it just so happened that my research about Floyd and his checkered past happened to come at the same time. It was perfect timing, so it just made sense to cover it. Would have been dumb to cover it next week after the fact.
Absolutely.
And this Trump thing came out yesterday, and I was like, God, I have got to talk about that because there's all these allegations been flying back and forth. We're really starting to get a lot of evidence now on it. So and the problem that I have too with it too, the underlying thing, the thing that I didn't state that I really shouldn't need to state, but when you got a foreign government that can influence who is elected in the United States of America, that is very concerning.
Yep.
Very concerning. So that's what this tells me. Not he's going to lie. He's going to lie. Every 2 or 3 things he says to me, I don't trust. The White House said this. I don't believe it. But we're getting all this evidence now. So the lies are going to be the lies. But when you have a foreign government that can affect the direction of our country,
right,
and then it could possibly create a security issue for my family, dude, it just concerns me, and it's a red flag, and I want to cover it. Our show is to sometimes dive into those heavier, deeper things that people are thinking about, don't want to talk about, that we got to share sometimes. So,
well, and to tag onto that real briefly, okay, it doesn't affect me as much as most people that Donald Trump is in there. It just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not in a super racist area. I mean, you can act like it is, but Nashville is pretty much a mecca of tranquility.
It's
for the
diverse.
most part.
Yeah, it's diverse.
For the most part. But where it does affect, I have hundreds of friends that are from other countries.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? And they are scared.
Yeah.
I mean, they've seen other people close to them be extradited out.
Yeah.
And, I'm not talking just Mexican friends. I'm talking about Middle Eastern, Muslims. I'm talking about, I have lots of friends from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of people that are from everywhere that are scared.
Yep.
I mean, they don't even want to get pulled over because that could be a violation where someone else could get pushed up and them get pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost impossible. You're talking $10,000 for a visa.
Mm-hmm. It's not cheap.
You know what I mean? And it's just not right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I say, when it starts hitting close home, and the fact that people know my wife is from Toronto, so we have a lot of Canadian extended family. And
right.
when you get their opinion on what
Canada.
they say,
I forgot about Canada.
You get their opinion on what they view and see. I mean, and I go back. I always ask this because we've been together a long time. When George Bush was, what do you think? Oh, we think he's silly, but we like. I mean, we don't mind him.
Right.
We don't feel scared that he's in office.
Mm-hmm.
He says some silly. Yeah, he's a likable guy. Obama. Sometimes he talks over my head. I don't really quite understand what he's saying because his vocabulary. But,
right.
And some people felt in a way that he was talking down to people because he's so
he's got a preachy cadence.
So. But then,
no.
But then you.
He almost hypnotized you.
Well, and it's.
Did he just say he hated me?
When it's like this, it's like, and then you want to do? It's like this. Boom, 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 boom.
I'm trying to tell you, man. He had a Martin Luther King style.
Yeah. So I asked my extended family in Canada, hey, what do you think about? It scares us. He's in office because
that's what's echoing.
We're a border country, and everybody knows that we're really close allies. It concerns us. I ask my people that I know that live in Australia. Ask my friends that live in the Middle East.
I forgot about my Australian friends.
You
have hundreds of friends.
You ask one of my wife's sister who lives in Germany. You ask some of my family who lives in England. You ask, they're all like, "Damn, it's scary." So, never heard those terms before until now. So,
and in this is the young man that I do the boot camps with. His girlfriend,
good kid, man,
awesome kid. His girlfriend couldn't finish school because of she had to go back to Australia because of some of the discrepancies of visa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she wanted to stay. I mean, but it's almost impossible to take that route right now. It's extremely difficult.
Yeah. And the path to citizenship and stuff like that should be, you really should have to earn it if you're coming in. Okay, I agree with that's cool. But I've got a customer right now, they're, difficulty getting financed, not because they don't earn enough and things like that. He's been in this country for 25 years, but on a visa, just not gotten his citizenship and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he's having a hard time getting it renewed this time.
Right.
It's like, man, are you kidding? He has a wife and kids here.
Right.
And not that he's going to be deported, but he's kind of in this limbo state. But what it's affecting is his employer says, your visa's not good. We're going to have to put you on sabbatical, and you're not going to be paid.
And that's the thing. And I know we're running long, but
you're in a prison. You're not deported back to your country, but you're almost like in a prison in your own home because you can't work.
That, and then what's that create? It creates turmoil in your life because now you're fear and scared. Yeah. All of that stuff makes you less intelligent.
Yeah. And
if you make a mistake in that type of situation, that's the difference between you being here or being deported.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
It's not a game, but they're playing with you, and it's a game of inches.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? Like, you make any sort of discrepancy. I get pulled over for speeding. I could be deported.
Yeah.
You know how crazy that sounds? Like, that is unfair.
I was breaking a local ordinance, a civil order that's not criminal in nature, but now I'm being deported by ICE in a criminal nature.
Right.
To another country.
Right.
To the country that I'm from. Damn.
Right. Damn.
What the hell? So you wonder why they're scared to death of. And Gary just now joined. Where in the hell have you been?
Where the hell you been, Jerry?
We covered all kinds of stuff that may have pissed you off, Gary, so I'm not sure.
Oh, you're going to be pissed. You know what? I'm not listening to y'all's asses, no.
Gary, we did a whole, you can go back and listen if you want, we did a whole story on
Donald Treasy.
Donald Treasy, the Humpty Hump, the whole email exchange.
I do the Trump to Trump.
The email from his attorney and one of the guys in his organization. You can go back and listen if you want, but indicate, he says he's working out. Cool, man. It's good. Good to hear. What is your post real quick? What are you down weight-wise? In case you have any last words when he posts this, I'll share it. But do you have any last words, Colin?
Yeah, my last words are basically don't allow a past tense thing to dictate how you feel about yourself. I'm not saying that Mayweather didn't do these things. I'm not saying that, it's an excuse that, he's in boxing and he makes a lot of money and then they covered up for him. I'm just saying on a personal level, don't allow past tense things to dictate where you are and how you act and how you go forward.
Yeah.
Also, if you have the chance for charity and you have the chance for any sort of grace that you can give people in need, even if it's $1, do it.
You've made an impact.
You know you're
doing something. You're contributing to that. Literally think about this. That $1 could be the difference of them being able to go. I don't want to use. It's terrible to use this, but going to the McDonald's and getting a burger, or just a thing of fries. You know what I'm saying? That sounds so. It seems like it's common sense, but it really is if you really think about that.
Right.
You really could have just made the difference in their day, that $1. So,
right. Or go grab them a sandwich or whatever. Just do something. And I'm not a big fan of giving homeless people charity because a lot of them choose to be there, and a lot of them have a hustle to where they make more money than you and I do in a day.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you can't take that fact and not use your own cognizance and take a look at someone and make an assessment. That person needs something.
Well,
they
at least
need some help.
At least I did my part. I don't know. What is my evidence to say that what they're doing is they're making money each day? I've got to hustle, or what truly is their situation? And if you really want to know, many of them will tell you. If you pull over, you've got time. Say, hey, look, I'm going to give you something. I'm interested in your story. What? Mm-hmm. And you make a connection with somebody, man. I tell you, I did that in LA a lot because there's so many homeless people.
Right.
And you find out their story, and then you're hearing their voice. That makes their day more than anything most times. It's like somebody actually talked to me and didn't see me as an outcast of society.
Right.
I had a unique situation that occurred to me that everybody thinks I just don't want to work, or I have a unique circumstance, and you took time to listen.
Right.
So anyway, so Gary says here, he goes, no, he probably would have liked it. And then he said he's down 25 pounds over the last 2 months.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Congratulations.
Wow. Listen to this. No sugar, no white bread, 1,500 calories per day, eating about 6 times a day. So he's almost kind of doing the low GI.
I like it. I like it.
That's amazing, Gary. Congrats, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm sure it's noticeable.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm sure your wife is liking the way her man is looking now.
You home? Finally. That's what I've been waiting on.
I've been waiting all day on the kids away.
They are bed. They asleep. Then what you going to do?
Well, Lexi, the older the daughter's like, but Case, send them off to camp or something, right, Gary? He said, thanks. You're welcome, brother. You deserve it, man. You're good. You have to meet Gary one day. He's such a great guy. So the whole family is. Anyway, that's all I have, man, until next week. I don't know if you've got any last thing. We're an hour 45 in. This is the longest episode we had in a minute.
That's unfortunate.
Well, that's fortunate. What are you talking about? You said it last time.
It's too long,
anyway,
man.
It is, man. We're trying to kid it at 1 hour, but
there's a lot of passion in this one.
It was.
Just couldn't stop.
It was. I rambled like I always do. Any case, until next week, I'm Scott.
It's Colin.
Out. All right, Facebook people. Sorry, I know that a lot of people dumped. Gary said married 15 years. You know how that works. Yeah, he is. I can't believe it's been 15 years, Gary. So, Facebook people, next week, we're really going to try to keep it an hour. That's been our goal. Last week we ran a little long, but a couple episodes before that were just over an hour.
There's just too many big things. It was the Donald Trump. I mean, that invoked a lot of passion in both of us.
Well, we spent a lot of time on the boxing on the front end.
Boxing, I mean, that's trending.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have almost done the boxing and
Donald Trump be done.
And I dumped most of my stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we couldn't just keep going.
We'd be here all day.
But
not that we don't love it, and hopefully
we love it, but it's like sometimes this stuff has to be covered.
Yeah.
And you can't not speak on what's going on in Texas. You just can't.
You can't. You have to cover that. I mean, absolutely. Well, Facebook, we'll cut the feed now, and next week we're going to again try to get started between 10 and 11. Start a little bit later today because of the Facebook feed issue. So until next week, see you guys. Peace. Hold on, let me see.